And let me just start by saying thank you and welcome everybody for joining us for this special Q&A session for Masami's upcoming course called The Anatomy of Your Cosmic Flow. And I wanted to just do a couple of quick things before we roll into the actual questions and answers and describing what the course is all about. And first of all, for those of you that have not had a chance to meet me yet, my name is Chris Covey, and I am the 2 of the C's in MC squared from our Mondays with Monday equals MC squared. And I'm glad to be here as a co-host today. And I wanted to start out with a very quick piece of housekeeping that pertains to the course. I'm gonna go ahead and put up a link in the chat right now. So for everybody, if you would just take a quick look at that. What we're going to start out with is based on some questions that we've already received about the course from people that have seen the information come out from the Shift Network and have been reaching out to us with questions. And so the first thing that I want to say to everybody is, unlike previous courses that Masami has offered and that we have shared through the Zenshin Institute and MasamiCovey.com platforms, this course is exclusively being produced by the Shift Network. And the reason why this is important is because they are 100% handling all of the customer service aspects, anything to do with subscribing to the course, questions about scholarships, any of those kinds of questions that you might have are actually going to be handled on the side of the Shift Network. And if you click the link that I put up in the chat, you can actually find a small Q&A section at the very bottom of the page. And there's even a section there about scholarships, because that's a question that we've had from several people, is if a scholarship might be available. So just as a reiteration, the Shift Network is handling all of the customer service on this course, okay? So welcome, whoever just popped on as Lenovo. No, you're not late. We're just doing introductions, and I'm directing everybody to the link in the chat with a reminder that the Shift Network is handling all of the customer service aspects of the course. So if you have a question about your order, if you have a question about scholarships, if you have any kind of question that you would normally contact us for, this time around, all those questions need to be directed to the Shift Network, and you can email them directly at support@theshiftnetwork.com. Okay, support@theshiftnetwork.com. And this includes questions around the first bonus. We've received several questions already around, can I get the very first fast action bonus that went out after Masami's interview with Stephen Dinan? And again, if you have a question about that, technically that expired after 48 hours. But if you
do you wanna mention what that was? Like,
yeah, I was just about to say that. The first bonus was about empaths and thyroid health. It's a great piece. It's a great reference and source that Masami took a lot of time to put together to talk about how empaths are uniquely both impacted by thyroid health and why it's such an important thing for them to attend to, so that they can also realize their gifts as empaths. So we've had several people ask us, can I get this bonus still? I didn't sign up in the first 48 hours. And so what we're asking everyone to do with that question is to please contact the Shift Network, because they're handling all those pieces. And so with that, there are a couple of other announcements I want to make. One is the all-important date of the course itself. The course begins on February 18th. You can see all that information on the link. And there's also going to be a follow-up Q&A call that is going to be facilitated by the Shift Network. The one we're doing today is just a special for Masami's email list. So we appreciate all of you that can join us today. We're going to talk about it maybe in a slightly different way than when it goes live with the Shift Network on the 11th. So you may also have questions after today, but we're going to try to answer as many of those as we can after we do an overview of the entire program. And then for those of you that sign up by the 12th of February, you'll also receive another extra bonus which is all about sleep and graceful aging and how to achieve deep sleep and a delta wave state that helps support brain health and that graceful aging process. Okay, so I think that I've hit all of my announcements from the beginning here. So Masami, welcome. And do you want to go ahead and jump in and start talking about the
Yeah.
7 modules?
Yeah, let's do. And you can hear me fine, right? I didn't
Sound
check.
great.
Okay. So yeah, let's get started. And thank you, Mary, for signing up. I love it. And the second bonus is really good. The one, if you sign up by the 12th, as you probably many of you know, I'm always like new information comes to me, new way of looking at body is endless for me. So all those are new information, new products that I put together in the last month or so. And the bonus one, did you mention about what the bonus is? The second bonus for
Briefly,
fast
but
action?
why don't you say more about it?
I would ask you to help me. I'm sorry, my brain is a little bit fried
Well,
to
I
be.
mentioned just that it's about sleeping and the importance of sleep to brain health. And so sleep is going to be a topic that Masami will talk about here in a moment. But yeah, that the second fast action bonus. So for those of you that haven't signed up yet, you'll still receive this special bonus around sleep and brain health and how to help support your delta brainwave state when you're in sleep. And we'll talk more about that. This is going to be a very important piece of the course as well in the brain module. But that's an added bonus that you get if you sign up by February 12th.
All right, good. Thank you. Yeah, it's very, very interesting to learn so much more about the lymphatic system and then how that ties in with the theta and delta wave of the brain and when that happens. So I did a really deep dive into it and then created a meditation at the end. And then there's an information at the beginning too. So it should be really fascinating for all of you. And, I just took a sip of water and that made me feel a lot better. I think I was a little bit dehydrated. So now I feel a whole lot better. Okay, so let's get started with the module 1 and I'll just kind of run through it. And then Chris, I'll pause at each module so you can maybe chime in a little bit. Okay. And before we get started in terms of the 7 weeks, because 7 weeks is a really good time. It'll give you enough time to shift and to actually start to notice the practices from last week, building on the second week and then the third week. And I'm all about connecting the dots. I love connecting things together and putting them into like a helix. Is that the DNA format? That's how my mind works. So each module is going to build on the one next to it, that one's come after. And I was asked one time, it's like, why did you, do these bees and why did you order them this way? I literally went into a deep tuning area of who I am. And I asked my inner wisdom, how should I organize these bees? And took a little bit on the last 3 or so, but I really like how I've organized it. So the first one is obviously the breath, because I love working with the blessings of the breath. And because breath is your foundation. Without that, we're not here, right? So that's where we're starting, because we breathe anywhere from 27,000 times to 30,000 times a day. We breathe constantly to be on this earth. So we have to start there. And what I hope to do is to teach different breathing that will build on the last week's one pertaining to the specific topic for that following week. So hopefully by the end of it, you have multiple ways to work with your breaths. And, as many of you know how I feel about the breathing, but if the breathing is shallow or it's really like efforting, you feel stuck in your breath, you feel tightness in different parts of your rib cage, or you're breathing too fast. Fast means shallow. then the rest of your life is going to start to show up that way. So you will feel really shallow in terms of maybe relationships you have around you, or you start to feel restricted, you start to feel tight, things don't flow. I'll just give you an example of a couple nights. I've been having a pretty major pain for my own self, and it's moving through now. This morning, I was able to release it through my elbow, and now it's finally releasing out of my hand. So something got pretty stuck. And so the last 2 nights, I've been breathing really shallow breaths. In the middle of the night, I was coaching myself to relax and be in it and gently attend to my pain. So, it is so important that you make friends with your breaths and you work with it constantly. So my goal is to really teach many ways to look at breaths and the importance of breaths, talking about nitric oxide, which is antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, and how to build that up better in your sinus cavities. And that's going to impact how you open up your third eye also, because it's directly connected to that region. And we will explore the signature breath together deeply. And because signature breath is something I will talk a lot more about, but it is what kept you alive. But also it's something that gets you stuck and not experience the flow. So I want to explore that as a group. And that's going to be one of the things that I hope to go into more with the breakout rooms, or maybe on a Q&A, or, further. I hope to answer some questions around there. And let's see, I'm just looking at, and we will address different domes in your body. So we all know that there's a dome in your third chakra, right at the diaphragm, but we'll explore different domes. Total, I'm hoping to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 domes that I want to address. And Chris, I might, and then so the first session, first module, as a group, I want to put kind of a group intentions so that we can cultivate flow together as a group. So I'm hoping that we can share some of what you feel like you are looking for flow in. Is it a finance? Is it in a relationship? Is it in more of a bowel movement? Is it through your maybe creative work that you're trying to do with your writing? So those will be kind of shared so that we can hold the space together and grow together in 7 weeks. And yeah, I keep coming back to the awesomeness of 7 weeks, because it's long enough that we can really make a shift. Okay. So Chris, anything to add?
I'm going to just jump in and one quick aside for anybody with questions in the chat. We're going to take them after we run through an overview of the 7 modules. So if you don't mind holding your questions until that point, I can see that a couple of them are starting to come in. So let's do that. Just hold questions until later on. And one thing I want to say is I've been working alongside Masami in one way or another, either as her colleague or her husband for many years now. And I'm very excited for Masami to teach this course, because it is such a combination of all of the unique experiences and training and all of the background that Masami has accumulated in her lifetime. And so what everybody is getting is really a distillation of that. And those of you that have worked with Masami, you know how creatively she puts together the information of both science and spirit. And so this is a very exciting opportunity to have this as a full-length course altogether. And so with one last thing about the breath and just the comments on that, the breath is the foundation, and I think Masami may have mentioned this, but this is going to go through all of the modules, and it's something that there will be a lot of care taken to establish your awareness and attention to your own breath and how that works, and then it'll be built on as each module goes on.
All right. Is my microphone better?
No, I think it's probably a Zoom system issue. Rather, you sound just fine.
Okay. All right. I put the microphone a little higher, so maybe that's a little bit better. So
all set.
All right. And then I'm going to go to module 2. That's the buoyant brain. I'm just like, I loved it when the buoyancy came to my mind. I was like, oh, that's what the brain is about. So I'm going to go into a little bit more of the brain structures as well. Not to be too scientific in the course, but I will definitely address the limbic part of the brain a little bit more and how to not have that fire all the time. So limbic part of the brain is the mammalian part of the brain that responds to your fight and flight. So it's your brain stem that it's catching information and then, choosing to go fight or flight or freeze or, rest and digest or whatever. But the limbic part of the brain is kind of the emotional center that is translating that. And I see that a lot of sensitives, highly sensitive people and empaths and intuitives like us, we get kind of almost like addictiveness around the limbic part of the brain, and it fires a lot. It's part of our gift because we get to sense things very well, but it's part of the brain that can be a little bit too fiery. So it's called limbic kindling, but that's definitely something I want to address for the group because I deal with that kind of a fiery brain also, and it can be very exhausting. So working with how to calm that down and how to take care of that part of the brain better. And, like I said, on the bonus is the one that you're going to discover a little bit more about how to do the brain drain before you go to bed and doing some of this breathing technique that I recorded. That should be really, really helpful for clearing the brain. And this is one of the things that I'm so excited to share is for the last, I would say 6 weeks, but even a little bit longer than, like last year I started talking to you, Chris, right? That I said, there's something coming through me and I don't know exactly how to put it together, but I've come up with this incredible meditation that I was actually practicing on Chris, but he fell asleep after like a stage 2. He's not supposed to fall asleep, but he did. But so it must have been working. But I'm calling it the CARE meditation. So CARE meditation. You're not going to find it on Google because it just came through me. So it's not up there. Nobody's going to find it because it's not something that it's widely used or anything. It's just something that I've been exploring and I created it. So I'm really excited to share this CARE meditation. And we will go through each C and an A and R and E and then put it together for supporting your brain health. So that's what I got from module 2. And I know there's so much more to talk about, but Chris, you want to chime in?
Well, yeah, the big feature which Masami has talked around in this description is going to be getting to understand the basic functions of what's called the glymphatic system. Glymphatic with a G, which is the way that your brain gets rid of wastes. And this is such an important function, and it has everything to do with positive health, positive thinking, graceful aging, all of these aspects of all of the goodness that the brain brings to our day-to-day experience. And this is very much connected. You've gotten little hints of this. If you've explored the course page, you've seen some of the short videos that Masami made. So you've probably already seen a little glimpse of that, but this is going to be a huge underlying feature of module 2 and its connection to sleep. Again, it's going to be more in depth about how you can positively support your glymphatic system for sleep and brain function.
Yeah, and then I'm definitely going to add every module is going to have PDF, and every module is going to have some suggestions and supplement suggestions and things. So Cheryl said, is this going to help with attention deficit disorder as well? And then the brain topic, ADD, ADHD, any kind of brain oriented Alzheimer's to dementia, they're all very much connected. So I'll be making some supplemental suggestions there that you may want to start slowly getting in. And, it's not a quick fix kind of thing. I don't ever teach quick fix. That's why 7 weeks is important, because we can kind of take it through a long journey together and support one another and hold each other's intentions for individuals' intentions, of flow as well as collective. So definitely I will address that, because so much of the ADD stuff, I've worked with so many kids. Chris was a school teacher for a decade, and I worked at the same school that he worked at for a couple of years. I think this was after we were married, but I was a meditation teacher for preschool. It was a kindergarten through ninth grade. And then I worked with a lot of kids with ADD, ADHD, medicated children, and working with the parents and the kids to get medications off of them and things like that. So I'm very familiar with the conditions, and then how that feels also in your body. So it has to go to the limbic part of the brain to calm that fiery part of the brain. It's so important we address that. And that's why I'm going to from breath to brain. I almost wanted to go straight to possibly bio, but I thought, no, we need to drain the north to south process that we were taught in functional nutritional therapy, to always address the north and then start to go down, down, down. So we will take journey from heaven to earth in that direction. Okay. And then is that okay if I go to module 3?
Yeah, before you do that though, can I just say one of the things that you'll also be getting for each module is some explanations of the terminology that may not be part of your everyday use and vocabulary, things like neuroplasticity, or some of the special terms that Masami is introducing into this course, like bodily karma or cosmic flow, so that you can have a working understanding of what these things are referring to as you go along. And I would just want to add on to the question about ADHD, any of those disorders. This whole course, in a way, is supporting those kinds of conditions, which are chronic and due to oftentimes imbalances and deficiencies in the body. So this whole course is a support for that type of condition.
Yeah, and the care meditation is specifically, I tuned in to see if I could create meditation that really works with the brain neuroplasticity. So it is actually to create different wiring in the brain is what that care meditation is going to take you through. And I'm hoping that that's going to be something you can share with one another and go deeper with it. And I'm sure there'll be questions. Chris, later on, let's address the question about the breakout rooms and then also the Facebook group and things like that, because not everybody's got Facebook. And then also not everybody can join at the time that the Shift Network set up my course to be. And it's really a tough time for Europeans to show up because it's like 2 a.m. So, but I have done something to help you with that. So hopefully I'll get to that on module 4. Okay. So module 3 is about the bile. And, many of you that have been listening to me for a long time, you know how excited I get about the bile and the bile salts and then bile acid, and how I consider that to be the golden liquid energy that's given to you from the divine. I just see it that way. That's what the bile says to me. So I might be the only person talking about the bile from a beautiful standpoint, but I love talking about the bile. And I plan to do lots of like a nutritional suggestions, supplement suggestions, different, possibly like a diets and, lifestyle things that you can use hands-on to work on, even for those of you that do not have the gallbladder. In the United States, I believe we remove about 600,000 gallbladders every year. So it's a highly, highly performed, surgery. So many of you that are going to be taking this course may not even have your own gallbladder, but I will explain that there will be a secondary gallbladder that gets built in your body and where that is. And then also how to support that. Just because you removed your gallbladder doesn't mean your gallbladder problems are going to go away. And to speak about the bile, I also need to speak about your digestion. So I will begin to touch upon the stomach and then how to digest things better, because we live in a world of gas and bloating and distensions and discomfort with the diet, and it just the whole digestive discomfort is like a part of our conversations. Like, how are you? Oh, I'm kind of getting like a heartburn here, or reflux is happening, so on and so forth. So that's all very much connected to the bio. So I hope to kind of start to introduce that. In the bio module, I'm going to also talk about weight loss resistance and why there's this weight loss resistance, that it's kind of like sticking around your body. And this is different than a plateau. So it's not like you hit the plateau and you're like, I can't lose any more weight right now, but eventually you will. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about weight loss resistance, where your weight just will not budge. And it's been years, kind of a thing. That's the weight loss resistance. Okay. And that has a lot to do with the bio and the hormones, and also circadian rhythm that is directly connected to the liver gallbladder. So that's what I hope to introduce, and much, much more. So should I go to module 4?
Yeah, go ahead. And the one last thing that I would mention here is that everyone that's participating is going to get literally a hands-on experience, because Masami is also going to be talking about the power of your own hands in the healing process, and how amazing your photon emitting fingertips are in healing your own body. So just a little teaser there. That's going to be a fun topic.
Well, I think anybody that knows me knows that I love using hands-on. I love doing breath work. So there'll be some breath work to help unstuck your bio area also. And some of you are sending me private messages, and I have a hard time reading the private messages because I get so many other things that I'm checking on. So if you could just post it, because it'll help everybody, I think that would be really helpful. But I did get one message that I wanted to briefly mention here, is that this person cannot actually gain weight, and that's also the bio issues. And because the bio does so much for your body in terms of getting pathogenic stuff out of your body. Bio cleans out your microbes and fungus and yeast and parasites and bacteria. And if that is not flowing and that is not operating in the right way, in the right amount, you're going to have a hard time gaining weight also. And that's I get that also. I get it on that side, as well as, weight loss resistance, which is probably more common. But my ex-husband could not gain weight. And that's because he had a major blood sugar dysregulation, which I will be talking about. And so hopefully on that chapter, you might learn a little bit more why you can't gain the healthy weight. Okay. And it's, I totally get it, because it was a very difficult thing for my ex-husband to go through. Not to be able to gain weight is also, it's a major challenge. So I get it. Okay. So the next one is the boundaries, module 4. And I'm calling it the brave boundaries, because your boundaries in your body is always maintaining the outside world, inside world, and it's always keeping it in check. So I find it so brave, that innate immune system and adaptive immune system. So we have two kinds of immune system, but innate immune system is right at the edge and always scanning and making sure that nothing major is going to be coming in. With COVID and everything, this boundary chapter is going to be so important. And this is why I actually asked the Shift Network. This wasn't part of it, but I asked them, I said, I just feel like I want to do an extra Q&A or something for this topic, the brave boundaries. So we are going to do live Q&A around the topic of boundaries on March, I believe 14th, correct? Right? That's Sunday. And it's the time, Mountain time is in the morning, 10 a.m. So noon Eastern time, so that those of you that are going to sign up in Europe and UK, you can join, and please ask me questions then, and I will make sure to look at those questions as well. I don't always have a choice, because I think they're going to be reading some of the questions to me, but I will make sure if you can send it earlier to the Shift Network, to have them send those questions to me, so I can try to address it that one extra session I decided to do. And I will be going over the boundaries in terms of the multidimensional boundaries. So we're not just talking about vampires and, you know, how to create better boundaries for yourself and surround yourself in light. Those are all important. But I think there's a multidimensional boundaries that I work with when I work with clients, that when I work with clients, a lot of times different spirits will come in, or the family members have passed will come into the session. And I have to be very careful about how they enter. So I have a entry door here. And if they enter through this door, they're welcome. But if they try to come through my closet door that's on this side, then I'm pretty strict with these spirits and multidimensional boundaries. I tell them that they're not allowed to be in this room because I'm in charge. So, you know, I would love to kind of discuss a little bit more of that, but I'm also very, very interested in the boundaries of the gut lining. So villi in your small intestine, large intestine, microbial world that we live inside and outside, the viral world that impacts our DNA, and how that boundaries, if it's not maintained in you, then you are going to experience boundary issues outside of you. So I think a lot of the spiritual world has taught, you know, how to create better boundaries. There have been way too many books written about the vampires and how to work with the vampires and energy suckers. But I feel like I work with so many sensitives and empaths and energetically really open people who are having boundary issues inside their gut. So it's to support the gut lining, to heal the gut lining, so you're not dealing with the inflammatory condition inside you that can end up impacting the brain health also, because there's the boundaries in the brain also. So on and so forth. And lungs also have boundaries too. So the breathing technique will come in here too. I think that's, I can say, go on and on about this, but I think that's good. Chris, unless you have something to add.
No, I think you did a nice summary of that one.
Okay. All right. So then the module 5 is bold bones. And I just really love this title. Just so you know, all these titles I came up with, just I'm tuning into it. It's like, what are the bones trying to say to me? What are the boundaries trying to say to me? So I don't know, this is the poet in me that comes out, because when I tuned into the bones, I was like, whoa, you guys are so bold, you know. And also with the Kali Yuga world that we live in, this new era of the world that we're experiencing and unfolding that is happening, the age of Aquarius, I feel this bones keep us kind of in alignment with the heaven and earth, and it's sustaining our spine, and it's sustaining who we are as a structure also. And bones hold our organs. Bones are basically hugging who we are also. So I love that about bones. But then there's one night I was like really just meditating on bones and this boldness of the bones. And the bones are like, you know, that we hold your stories. And I thought, seriously? So I'm having like great night at that night. I was like, okay, so the bones are holding our ancestral stories. Bones are holding our own stories. Bones hold earthly stories. And then it's like so that kind of went into a totally different direction, which I love to explore in this module, about your own inner stories that's stored in your bones, and the connection between the bones and your third chakra. And so this is where I kind of wanted to briefly mention about the chakras, because in a lot of the chakra worlds, we talk a lot about the first and second chakras. We talk a lot about the heart-centered practices. We talk a lot about speaking up through the fifth chakra. We say, okay, how to open up your third eye, your sixth chakra. We talk about the seventh and the crown chakra and how to open it, and then the chakras above it, and so on and so forth. And I just almost always felt like nobody's talking about the third chakra. But there's a strong connection between your power of third chakra and your boldness, your strength, and the form of your bones and the health of your bones. So if you're experiencing osteoporosis, osteopenia, or any kind of bone issues, I would really welcome you to take this course and learn a lot more about this. And last, a couple more things about the bones. I love bone stuff. So we'll talk about calcification of the bones. We'll talk about the difference between how to nourish the bones versus, just taking calcium supplements, which is not what I would recommend. And why that is. I would definitely go into why that is. And last thing about the bones is that I have a love for fascia. And maybe Chris, you could type in the word fascia on the chat for some people that never heard of it, or myofascia. So I'm trained in myofascial work. I became very interested in fascia when I was going through my own physical pain. But it was in 2006 that I was introduced to myofascial work. And I studied anatomy trains, for those of you that know what that means. And if you don't worry about it. But it's like a head to toe fascial work that I learned how to access that. And that's when I realized the power of fascia. And my practice really changed when I started to touch the fascial power. And I'm going to bring the fascia into the bone module, because ultimately your bones are fascia. So, this might be controversial, but the stuff that I learned through working with people's fascia has been fascinating. So I'm definitely going to address that more. Okay. And I'm going to take a pause here. Chris, do you have anything else to add?
I'm just going to add that the bones are also a lot more than most people realize, because bones are always in motion, and not just walking around and exercising and getting up and down, getting in and out of bed. The bones themselves are constantly dynamically changing. And so you'll learn more about how that process works, and actually how that leads right into the next module. So why don't you go ahead and start talking about the next one, because that's right along the lines of the connection from bones to balanced blood.
Yeah, so this was something that I think you and I, Chris, we talked about it for a long time. I was like, I really want to talk about the bones. I really want to talk about the blood, but it's like, in which order should it come? Which order should it unfold? And I was even thinking about, doing maybe bowels as like a bowel movements kind of thing as one of the modules. But then I thought, you know what? That's when I can talk about that a little bit more, like a constipation, diarrhea, irritable bowel syndrome, any kind of a colitis or diverticulitis or any kind of itises during the boundaries topic. That's why I'm doing 2 time sessions on the boundaries, because it's a pretty big topic. But then when the blood and bones came, first I had the blood first. Then I realized that, no, wait a minute, north to south, we need to go towards blood after bones. And there's a reason for this, but I will talk about it more on the actual course. But blood is life. Blood flows through all of us. And whatever your experience is, or whatever your skin color is, your hair colors, eye colors is, we all share the same color of blood. And it's just an amazing harmonizer of who we are. And at the same time, blood is a very sensitive fluid that needs to be maintained at the homeostasis. What that means is it needs to remain at the right pH, and it doesn't have a lot of wiggle room. So when I work with clients, and then clients will bring in their blood tests, and I choose to do more hair tissue mineral analysis than the blood test. That's because blood is always maintaining you at this fine tuning level. So by the time your symptoms or even the diseases are starting to show up on your blood test, that means your body has been struggling for quite some time. So, that's why I'm okay to look at the blood test, but I like to also look at what's been going on before the blood test and work on the causes. But to come back to the blood again, blood is it takes you into the moment. It's really an amazing tool to come back to the now.
Fashion.
Oh.
Sound right?
Did you?
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, blood takes you back to this moment. So for those of you that are talking to somebody else, mute yourself, please. And then, it's almost done telling you about the module, so please stick with it. Okay. And so it's a harmonizer of your body and soul. I really see that the soul component with the blood. And a lot of times I think we don't take care of our blood pH so that we start to experience premature aging symptoms. And you start to say to yourself, oh, I'm just getting old, or this is just a part of aging. And I would actually say that's not true. Just because aging is something you hear all the time and symptoms you read about it or you commonly talk about, that doesn't mean it's normal. And it doesn't mean that you can't harmonize yourself again. Okay. So let's see. Oh, and then couple more things that's very important on the balanced blood module that I'm going to talk about is how to create blood that is healthy. So it's not sugary and thick and causing you to have these premature aging symptoms of aches and pains and deterioration of the cognitive part of your brain, or even just in general, you just feel like, I just don't feel good. That's when the body blood sugar is dysregulated. And that's going to be extremely important that you learn how to regulate your blood sugar. And this is when I am going to actually personally explain my take on intermittent fasting, which I have been doing off and on since I was about 16 years old. And I find that the intermittent fasting information that is out there is not, it's clinically, I don't agree with. And so I want to share what I do and how I balance my blood sugar that is quite different than what's out there. And, please know that the intermittent fasting concept is nothing new. It's been around forever. All religious groups have always done intermittent fasting and so on and so forth. It's just, I find that many people are doing it in a way that it could be kind of harmful in terms of your balancing your blood. So I wanted to make sure to talk about that. And then also adrenal health I will touch upon that on this module. So adrenal fatigue, adrenal burnout, and how that impacts your hormones and so on and so forth. So anything else, Chris?
No, that's good. I was just going to mention that that last piece, the connection between stress and hormones and how that needs to balance in the blood. But that sounds good. Why don't we talk about the last one?
Okay, so last one, I'm going to just talk briefly and I'm going to have Chris chime in because I actually asked Chris to join me for this last module. Yay! So Chris will be part of it. And, for those of you that do not know Chris, he isn't just my husband, but he's really a person that I get to share all this crazy things that I think about and feel and sense. And he's always been able to kind of like translate them for me or help me to put it into the better wordings or so on and so forth. And just to support my work that I have been doing. And I don't know, I bet you some of you do know, but he used to work for the Sounds True. So Sounds True is another publishing company. And he has published as in he was a part of maybe you can tell, but Brene Brown, and he has worked with Robert Payne. Is it Payne? Is that his name? Am I saying it right? Yeah. And one other, I forget which one you produced together.
Yeah,
you're part of the Sean Corn's yoga too. Yeah. And so he has quite the interesting background in that also. And so it's been very helpful to navigate this whole idea about the 7 B's with him. And I really felt that this is a great module to bring Chris in. And I'm so excited about this module 7. Body of Bliss is what I'm calling it. And first I was thinking about where I went was the koshas. And for those of you that do not know what koshas is, maybe Chris, you can write that word, but it also means sheaths. And that's the yogic term or Ayurvedic term for different layers of who you are. So we have different layers of who we are, the external layer that is connected to physiology, the outside world, and then so on and so forth. You go into the mental and then emotional. And then, but there is this center of the kosha that's called the bliss body. But where we were starting to talk about it is that it isn't just about the bliss body, but it's like we are the body of bliss. When everything is flowing, so when you're breathing better, your sinuses are clearing up, when your nitric oxide is doing its job to clear out the viruses and the fungus and yeast are coming in or staying in your sinus cavities. I work with so many people with chronic sinusitis. So, it's one of my favorite topics, but it's like once you start to clear that, once you start to clear the brain debris of your old thinking, old patterns, karmic debris, as well as inflammatory stuff in the brain even from medications perhaps, but it's also like a dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. I studied a lot about Parkinson's because my father was diagnosed with Parkinson's before several years before he died also. So all those things can really impact the brain. Neurotransmitters, can be impacted by your entire body. So once you start to clear the brain, lymphatic system is draining, you're digesting better, and then the bile is starting to flow, then you can start to remove these things through the boundaries, through the colon, through releasing of the stools. And then we can start to, incorporate how to create stronger bones, nails, teeth. So if you have oral issues, you definitely want to take the module on the bones. And then at the end, going through clearing and creating a balance in your blood, that's when I realized that we are experiencing this thing I'm calling body of bliss. And Chris said something really, really interesting earlier today. So will you repeat what you said to me about that?
Yeah, well, what I was saying is we experience this body of bliss when our body is functionally aligned in such a way that we can actually experience what we're calling cosmic flow. And so it's this cycling energy that, you may have heard Masami talk about this already, but it's in us and it's around us and it's passing through us all the time. And so but I want to expand on that a little bit too, and just say that the idea of bliss as an experience that we embody is something that we're going to take it somewhat in the direction of the language of the hero's journey, and that there is an ordinary way that people treat their bodies and treat their health and treat their spirituality, and then there's a way that isn't so common that actually fuels each one of us individually in our own unique way. And so part of this journey and part of this exploration of the body of bliss is to find out what that is for you. What is bliss for you? And I'm going to give one hint on that about this, which is that it's not always the thing you think it is, the thing you necessarily wanted or asked for, but there's something waiting for you that is uniquely yours. And so when you align all of these other functions in your system, you're able to experience this greater flow that connects you as that conduit. We often describe, it's like the Taoist idea of the humans being this conduit between heaven and earth, the bridge between them. And so the body of bliss is really what we get to experience when all of those functions are supported and they can align with each other and work together. So it really flows outward from there and shapes the experience that we have outside of our bodies as well in our lives. That may be enough to say about that for now.
Yeah, it's I would say it's a new beginning, not you arrive at module 7 and say, okay, I'm done, but it's more like, okay, I'm coming home to this body, And now I get to use this body to express my bliss, to really feel the bliss that, Joseph Campbell talked about, because it isn't just about you wait around for the bliss to come to you, but the bliss is already in us, but sometimes it's so clogged up, we are not feeling it. But it's really, when Chris and I were talking about these 7 modules, I was like, this is just the beginning. This is where we do all this work to flow, create the flow, create the channel. You become the vessel. Then you take that bliss into the world as the body that it's ready. So that's what I'm hoping to, get started. So hopefully at the end, you'll say, this is not the end. This is really the beginning of my journey. And I don't know, Chris, I should say that left-hand turn, right?
I was going to say right now, you're probably noticing somewhat that we're both having to really restrain ourselves from starting to teach this course because we're so energetic and enthusiastic about the content of it. But why don't we wrap up there with the description, and then let's start taking some questions. So,
well, and thank you for those of you that are commenting. Yes, Susanna, I'm so excited too. And thank you. I'm glad. She's like, so much inspiration and motivation on so many levels already with this. So thank you. And enthusiasm. I know, I just can't help it. Like, it's just too exciting not to be enthusiastic about it. Because as I work with clients and see their vessels clear up, they start to take off on what they came here to do. So they're not just like lugging around this body behind them. And I'm sure all of us have felt that, lugging around the body. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I want you all to know that Masami and I both individually have very, very deep personal experience with having bodies that felt like they were broken down and like there might not be any hope for the rest of our lives due to injuries and illnesses and things that we've experienced. And so these are practices that we both do, not just teach. This is our life. We live this way. And so this is proven from the lab of life and our own direct experience, as well as clinical experience with clients. So why don't we jump to a few questions? I'm going to start up at the top. Early on, we had a question.
Chris, can I just mention, sorry, if you guys click on that link, I actually did you mention that I did a private?
Oh, I did not mention that. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Or I could say it. Masami was there. The Shift Network did a special drawing. They had a pool of people that they invited in to do a drawing, and there was a lucky person chosen to do a sample private session with Masami that's now up on the course page. So if you haven't had a chance to see what that looks like, this isn't what the course is specifically, but it really gives you a window of insight into how Masami works and how she thinks and how she interacts with people around these topics and supporting them. So questions in the next few minutes? Okay. So we had a question from Linda early on. She says, do people that signed up the first day get the breath info? I can get that question. Linda, breath is going to be one of the central pillars of this whole course. So you're definitely going to be getting a lot of information about breath and breathing. And for those of you that sign up, you'll also have 3 additional bonuses that are going to give you more information about your hands in conjunction with your breath, about your gut, your hara center. And yeah, so the answer is yes. The simple answer is yes, absolutely. Okay, and then we already answered the ADD question. So we had a question about the Facebook group.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so I didn't read that question.
The question just was, what is the Facebook group we will want to join?
Oh, okay. So I think what they're doing in the Shift Network is that they're calling it the Your Anatomy of Cosmic Flow Facebook group. That if you sign up for this course, they're going to make that separate. And then so the ones that are taking the course will be able to sign in, and it'll be a private Facebook group. And I will be on it also. But it'll be to share each other's intentions, share each other's experiences, learn from one another, and so on and so forth. And then I will be on, I can't guarantee like every day or anything, but I will be on. So, that's going to be happening the whole entire time also. And then I think they generally continue to do that for even after the course for a while. So that could be a great way to meet one another also. And then after 90 minutes so 60 minutes of like a lecture, we're going to have a half an hour of Q&A on every module is going to do that. And so you can send in your questions, prior to, if you can't be there on live, and then they will sort out the questions and ask me during that half an hour. And then after that 90 minutes, if you so choose to, and I would really recommend it, is that you're going to go into a breakout room. And I've actually requested to have it in a small number of people. Like I'm thinking like 3 people per group will be better, just because I don't like breakout rooms personally. I know there's so much benefits to it, but I get kind of shy. And I know, can you believe I get shy? But my empaths part comes in, and I'm an introvert also. So I don't like to join things like that too much, but I'm hoping that's small enough that you can share, and you are going to have some topics that I'm going to recommend that you discuss in that breakout room for another half an hour. So it'll be very much geared towards the topic. So let's say if it's the breath module, I'm going to have maybe 2 to 3 questions possibly that you will go into a breakout room and discuss with the fellow students that are in there. And then, I think that's a great way to meet one another and support one another also.
I want to jump in and just say, Cheryl, you sent a question to me. I think it came to me directly, and it was about organizing the breakout groups. So we're not going to be organizing these groups. The Shift Network will be handling the moderation of the sessions, and they'll be creating the breakout groups. So Masami won't be doing that, and I won't be doing that either for this course. Okay, so you may find yourself with people that you haven't had a chance to meet before in our sessions, but I would just encourage everyone. I'm actually an extreme introvert myself. You may not guess it all the time, or if you hear us speak, we're both very introverted people. And so I'm not always eager to jump on small groups myself, but every time that I do it, I always find that the challenge of stretching myself to be with people that I don't know and to talk about things that are somewhat unfamiliar, but also very personal at the same time, is actually a very powerful way to open yourself to new learning and to experience the content of the program much more deeply. So I would encourage you to participate. And I also want to comment, Linda mentioned about the Facebook group. She had a good comment here that Shift always has a private Facebook group with each of their classes. So thanks for that reminder. And then also, it's not essential if you don't feel comfortable on Facebook. So it's not something, you're not necessarily going to be missing course content if you're not on the Facebook group. It's just an opportunity for you to deepen your discussion and your conversation with people in the course. Plus, Masami will be dropping in from time to time to comment and share some perspectives.
And then the Shift Network said to me that if I say, like, if I leave a comment that it's like, oh, everybody should hear this, they said that they will make sure to post that on the course page. So if you don't, have a Facebook page, or you don't want to be part of that, you're not going to miss out on anything. Okay. And, many of you know, I didn't even have a Facebook page till last year. So, it's a new experience for me too. But, if they see that it's this is good information, everybody should hear, you're not going to miss out on that. And also, Susanna, I had no idea that they were picking the person for the private. She said, I have not received anything from the Shift about Masami's possible private session draw. That just came about. I think they just decided. And I think Chris didn't exactly know how they picked it either. We don't know. But the thing is, I think they picked a person from people that signed up right away, right away for this course or something. So I have no idea. They just sent me an email and said, you're doing this private session sample with this person, and I've never met her or anything. So I did that. But, I think it'll be interesting to watch. It's about 40 minutes. And if you have time, I think you will learn some stuff from it too. So it's good to check it out. And I think there was a question about the, I have no idea how many people are in the course right now. And also anxiety. Did you see that question about anxiety?
I am skipping back. I'm gonna jump to one. I'll answer this one quickly.
There was an anxiety question though, so I'm gonna go back and take a look.
Why don't you find that, and I'll get this one from Ilka, which was Ilka asked, would you share how emotions affect the physicality, pain, disease, etc., for those that might be skeptics or new to how that happens? And I would just say, Ilka, this is really what this course is about. So we're not going to be able to really go into that depth in this call, but I would just say that if you understand that energy in your body is the same energy that your emotions come from, that your mental energy comes from, that your mental health comes from, all of these things are connected. And if your body is out of alignment across these multiple systems that are going to be covered in this course, it's going to be difficult to have an experience of flow and an experience that is as pain-free as possible, either physically, mentally, or emotionally. So really, it's a good question. And I think that that's the backdrop of this course. That's really what this course is trying to get at, is how to help support you live in the best way possible for you right now.
Well, and I think I found the anxiety question here too. And, to kind of bridge on that, my frustration that, a lot of times, right? Something you're living your life and go, why isn't this working? Or there's got to be a better way. That's when the innovations happen. And for me was the doing so much emotional work and so much like, past life stuff that I've done since I was about 19 years old. I've done a lot of work around stored memories and emotions. But what ended up happening was I broke down and I couldn't even walk anymore. I was on crutches and, MS diagnosis to getting hit by an armored truck. And then I realized that I can do a lot of these chakra balancing, emotional clearing, working on my ancestors, and so on and so forth. But if my brain is not draining and my lymphatic system isn't open, and if I'm constipated all the time, and many of you know I'm the constipation queen. I've been constipated in and out, I've struggled with constipation since I was about 6 years old. So I realized that if I didn't have the flow in my body and my MRI is showing that my brain is deteriorating, then I have to say, maybe some of those work can be helpful, but all the stuff that I was stirring up inside me, including my emotions and my emotional karma, my anger, so on and so forth, was just getting stirred up like somebody's dusting or, somebody's sweeping my body, but nobody collected it and dumped that out for me. So that release, that letting go and creating the flow changed the course of my life completely. So I think that's where my passion comes from, is that I love all that work, but my work that I'm trying to bring in, I'd like to have it coexisting, or maybe it's the foundation work or a work that you do alongside of your course on forgiveness, maybe course on emotional traumas. You work on these things alongside of work on different channels of your body so that you are cleared in your body. So as you stir things up, as you start to bring these things to your consciousness, you can eliminate them, sort them out, and put them outside of you so you don't constantly carry it around. So next year you do the same, but the different course on another emotional work. And because to release emotions requires a lots of energy. And I was just talking to one of my clients yesterday, and I really had to address this with her because she was feeling so much better since she started working with me physically. that she decided to dive so deeply into the emotional release side. She really got sick from it. And she started to not digest. She started to have digestive issues, started to have diarrhea, and so on and so forth. And so I had to pull her back and say, okay, we can't really overdo some people are overdoing the emotional side and spiritual side, and they're not bringing the body side. My goal is to bring body, mind, and spirit all together. So there's science, there are practices, there are hands-on practices and knowledge. So I wanted to say that, and I think this will answer your question. PC says, can you speak about anxiety and if it can be related to gut or lymph health? The answer is absolutely.
Can I add I'd like to add a footnote to that myself. This is something I very nearly died from a serious traumatic brain injury when I was 18, and that changed the course of my life. And if this topic, these three things are definitely connected: anxiety, gut health, gut function, lymphatic health. All of these things are connected. And if you're somebody that has had a brain injury or a major illness, you probably are going to experience a downturn in the function of both gut and lymphatic flow, either in the brain or through the rest of the body. And in my case, it led to an uptick in mental health symptoms that became very severe over the next few years. It related to a downturn in my digestive health that became pretty severe, and also a lack of flow in my lymphatic system, especially in my brain, the glymphatic system. And so it took me years of very acute care. And it really wasn't until I met Masami. I have to give her credit for that, because when she met me, I was a pretty hot mess in every respect. I was about 70 pounds heavier than I am now. I was in such severe pain that I could barely even concentrate beyond the sentence that I was speaking. And I really just had no attention for much of anything beyond what was immediately happening. So going from that point of really deep distress on many levels to working through these patterns in my body and later in my mind and in my emotions, those things follow as you build the capacity in your body. And I can't emphasize how important that is. You know, if you can just remember that your mental health, your emotional health really has its origins in your body, the physical body. Okay, so if we're strengthening that and we're building from there, the flow opens up and we really can live as we're meant to live.
Ilka, I have as you know, if you need me to give you a scientific research on whatever you're asking me, I'll be happy to do that, because that's part of my, like, a love of my work. All right. So if that's what you need, then you let me know. But then what I would recommend to you, Ilka, is if you're interested in a topic, you need to go to PubMed, and start researching medical journals that are all posting. I mean, we get most of our work and what we're talking about from PubMed and other medical journals. PubMed, it's just like an umbrella term for all, where you can get Lancet, you can get Harvard Medical Studies, you can get all kinds of medical studies there. So that's what I would recommend. And to be honest with you right now, I am working on this so hard that I'm not going to have the chance to just say, here, Ilka, these are the things that you can, look it up. But this is where you need to take charge in your own health and your own research, and go to pubmed.org and then find out what you're looking for. And you will have endless amount of information that is out there that is scientific, if that's what you want. Okay. Yeah, pubmed.org. All right. So Joanne, I'm happy you're going to be joining the course. Thank you. And Cheryl, yes, I know it's great that we get to bring body, mind, spirit together, right? So I think we covered everything, right? That we can think of. And then any other questions?
I'm looking for any other course.
Sarah said, thank you Sarah said, thank you so much for sharing your journey, Chris. Yeah, this inspires me and gives me hope in regards to my own journey. Yes. And, takes time, everyone. Nothing is an overnight fix. Sorry. What I can tell you is that when I saw my own fluids in my spine, I met my God. Okay. I met God that is inside me. And I knew that I can heal. That was established. I was like, I can heal. I can totally heal. Okay. But the journey to creating the process for lasting health requires effort, and it's a daily thing. That's what diet means, right? Diet means daily allowances or daily work. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, it's a simple way to think of it is the original word diet comes from ancient Greek, and a simple translation of diet comes from the word dia, which means day. So it's everything you do in a day. So it's your stress, it's your relationships, it's your work, it's the food you eat, the water you drink, the weather conditions, everything that's going on in a day is your daily diet. And those
Marcy, I hope you can sign up. I know it's an exciting course, and I don't think anyone, I don't know, not too many people look at it, body, mind, spirit, the way I do, or Chris and I do. So please join. Oh, Claire, thank you. You just signed up. Yay. And thank you. And let's see, I was just going to say, so Ilka, yeah, you're welcome. So go to pubmed.org and start looking it up. But Ilka, one thing that when I tune into what I sense for your friend that you're looking up the arthritis for, is that we get a little too caught up in only researching the emotional side of the arthritis. So always put it through this, trio: body, mind, spirit, body, mind, spirit. Think of it as like a stool, right? You have to have 3 legs to have stools that will be solid. So don't just go into the emotional side and that's it. You do some emotional work around it. Then you go into how is this inflammatory situations happening in my joints? So that'll be the module on the bones that we're going to go into, right? And then you need to look at your mindset around that also, because arthritis there's an emotional component to arthritis. Absolutely. And then there's a big component around anger. Okay. Anger is a big one for arthritis, but there's an inflammation component because that person is not digesting. So you see that it can go into a different direction. So don't get just caught up in the emotional side. All right. So I think we probably should wrap up here. I don't see any new questions, but Marcy, thanks for commenting that you already signed up. And so you get to not only be excited for the class, but you've already signed up. So thank you for doing that. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay.
There's one last question, and then we'll make this the last one and then get going. Emily asks, will you be touching on vegetarian and vegan diets?
So I'm gonna comment on that. So diet, like I said, and like Chris is talking about, it's a daily thing. It's a seasonal thing. I don't actually do well with any kind of diet. And I've mentioned this before, but those of you that are new to my work, is that I'm half Japanese. So I have, I think I have obviously a lot of us have Mongolians in us, but I have Mongolian in me. And my mother's side is more of a northern part of like a Japan blood. So even though I grew up in the most southern island, I have a lot more kind of a fair skin side, and I don't do well with alcohol whatsoever. I cannot drink any alcohol. And so the other half of me is Norwegian, Finnish, German, and French. Okay. So when people write diet books, they drive me nuts. Okay. Because I need my seaweeds once in a while. Okay. I just crave seaweeds. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, I need my fermented soybeans, which is not something I would recommend to you because it stinks like a locker room feet. It's sweaty, it's disgusting smell, but I love it because that's what I ate. Okay. So I don't get caught up in people saying, okay, are you going to talk about this diet or that diet? I probably won't, but it's your way of tuning into yourself. That's what I'm interested in. I want to wake your vessel up so that you can tune into what's working and what's not working, and when is it working, how is it working. That's what I'm interested in, much more than this is the diet and you must follow it this way and this is how we're going to do it. So I hope that makes sense to you. Love you too, Mary. Okay, so I think we should let the US people go because there's a Super Bowl about to happen.
That's right. And thank you, Linda. Also, Linda, you mentioned that you signed up already. So thank you. We look forward.
Thank you.
And I want to just add to that. One last comment to you, Emily, is that a lot of what this teaching is about in this course and in general for the work that Masami does and that we do together, it's not just about living in a way that's approved by a certain group in society or looking a certain way. It's really listening deeply to what your life is asking of you right now. And oftentimes what it's asking of you right now doesn't match. If you're listening, it doesn't always match with what you think it should be or what you would like it to be. So we just talked about this on our call last Monday about trying to break free of what we call the cows, the coulds, the oughts, the woulds, and the shoulds. And so it's just that to allow some flexibility around what is being asked for, what wants to happen, instead of trying to force everything that you are into a box that you can put a label on. Okay, so I know that might seem, I hope that doesn't sound harsh. I mean it in a loving way because it's something we all have to work through, but just really do your best to listen to what is asked for right now.
Yeah, I think there's a, seasonality in our world, and there are seasons in our lives. So what used to work for you may no longer work for you. And there are seasons in eating habits that we really need to get back into. And there's a seasonality even from morning till night. So, it just depends. And how I take supplements, I was telling one of my clients this morning, I said, be a little bit more playful with your diet choices, your food choices, and your supplements. And, if you find yourself getting rigid, check back into your breath, because I bet you your breath is becoming rigid also. So it's all about coming back to bringing awareness back where we have given our power away to other people to tell us what I should do. And I want to bring that power back in you so that you have a clear knowing. But we can't have a clear knowing if your brain's clogged up, if your lymphatic system clogged up, your digestion is all over the place, your stomach is bloated and distended, you got low thyroid function, you're having bone issues and hollowing of the bones, and then your blood is dysregulated and you're having blood sugar roller coaster. How are you supposed to have the clarity in you? It will be very difficult. That's why I'm interested in teaching you the foundation. This is really the foundation for you to take off from. So I think so much work that's been done out there, especially in the spiritual world, is all about manifesting this, manifesting that, and think this way and think that way, and then you will do it. And maybe, but that hasn't worked for me till I actually came home to my body and use this beautiful vehicle as a part of my trio. Then the world started to shift for me. So hopefully you can experience that too. So for those of you that are going to be taking the classes, hopefully all of you start thinking about what areas of my life do I want to start to see more flow in. Start thinking about that, because that's what we're going to work on for 7 weeks. And then hopefully you'll get to the body of bliss. And then that's when you get to take that journey forward. Okay. So I think that's it. Otherwise, anything else, I talk with my body and its organs. Yeah, they even have.
We could keep going, but Thank you,
Yep.
everyone, for your
Yes, thank
comments
you,
and your questions.
Nada. Oh, I
And
love that name.
Cheryl,
Okay.
don't worry. Masami will take some time to go through the basics of breathing
Yeah.
and build on it from there.
Oh yeah, I'm interested in basics. And then people are always like, can you show me the advanced? And I'm like, seriously, we need to come back to the basics. However, this is a treat, everyone. I am actually going to share this one breath that when I was almost on the edge of just suicidal, just kind of like almost was going to leave my body, this one angel came and taught me this one breath. I have not publicly shared this with anyone, but I'm going to. I am going to somewhere in the 7 modules. I don't know exactly when. It's not in the breath module for sure, but I'm going to share that. So you will learn what saved my life, what made me stay on this earth when I was in my mid 20s. So I'll definitely do that. Okay. All right. So I
For
think
real now. We gotta call it a day. But thank you.
okay, for
so
real.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I will talk to you soon. Some of you will see you tomorrow on Monday equals MC squared.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah,
Bye.
until then.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.